The police arrived at 7:43 in the evening. My daughter was upstairs in her room, the door closed, her favorite playlist cycling through the same 3 songs she had been playing on repeat since my uncle left. I stood in the living room with the drawing in my hand. My hands were not shaking. I had photographed it from 4 different angles. I had sent the images to my attorney. I had called the non-emergency line first, explained the situation with the kind of calm that comes from knowing exactly what you're doing, and they had sent 2 officers immediately. My husband was in the kitchen. He did not know yet. No one knew yet except me and the detective who had just introduced herself as Sarah Brennan. She was younger than I expected, maybe 32, with her hair pulled back and a notebook already open. She looked at the drawing for 11 seconds without speaking. "How old is your daughter?" she asked. "6, just turned 6 in January. And your uncle was here for 3 days?" "3 days, Thursday through Saturday. He left Sunday morning." She nodded. She asked if she could take the drawing. I had already made copies. I handed her the original. She slid it into a clear plastic sleeve and wrote something in her notebook that I could not see. "We are going to need to talk to her," Detective Brennan said. "Not tonight, tomorrow. There is a specialist we work with for interviews like this. Her name is Dr. Cartwright. She is very good." I said that would be fine. My voice sounded normal. I had practiced this part in my head during the 40-minute wait between the phone call and their arrival. Stay calm, be specific, do not editorialize, let the evidence speak. My husband walked in from the kitchen holding a dish towel. He looked at the officers and then at me. "What is going on?" I showed him the drawing. I watched his face change. I watched him understand. "Where is he?" my husband asked. His voice was different now. Tight. "We are working on that," Detective Brennan said. What I did not tell them yet was that I already knew where my uncle was. I had his location because he had shared it with me 6 months ago when he started using that family tracking app my mother insisted everyone install. I had his phone number. I had his work address. I had the name of the hotel he stayed at when he traveled for business. I had kept a list. Some people in my family still think I went too far with what I did next. "I need you to tell me, because when I stood up at family dinner that night and showed everyone that drawing, I did not just call the police. I made sure every single person who had ever told me I was overreacting about anything understood exactly what their silence had protected. Let me tell you how we got here. The dining room was still set from the family gathering we had hosted 2 weeks earlier. My mother had insisted on bringing her own centerpiece, a crystal vase she bought in Barcelona, and it was still sitting on the credenza because she told me it looked better there than anything I owned. The evening light came through the west windows in that particular gold that happens in early March, and someone had left a wine glass on the coffee table with a pale ring forming underneath. I could hear my daughter upstairs, her footsteps crossing from her desk to her bed and back again, the way she paced when she was working something out in her head. I sat down on the couch. I did not sit in the chair by the window where I usually sat. I sat in the center of the couch where I could see both doors. My husband sat next to me. He put his hand on my knee. Neither of us spoke. Detective Brennan asked if there was somewhere private we could talk. I took them to my office. It is a small room at the back of the house with built-in shelves and a desk I bought myself after my first promotion. The door closes, the walls are thick. My daughter could not hear us from upstairs. "Walk me through the timeline," Detective Brennan said. I walked her through it. My uncle arrived Thursday afternoon. He stayed in the guest room on the 2nd floor. My daughter showed him her new art supplies, the set she got for her birthday. Friday, he watched her while my husband and I both had work calls. Saturday, we all went to the Science Museum. Sunday morning, he left at 9. "When did she draw the picture?" Detective Brennan asked. "Monday afternoon, yesterday. She came home from school and went straight to her room. When I called her for dinner, she brought it downstairs. She handed it to me and said, 'I made this for you.' Then she whispered, 'Uncle said do not tell Mommy.' And then she went back upstairs." "What did you do?" I looked at the drawing. I saw what was in it. I photographed it. I called my attorney. Then I called you. Detective Brennan made a note. "Why your attorney first?" "Because I knew what would happen next. I knew my family would say I misunderstood. I knew someone would try to take the drawing. I knew I needed documentation that could not be argued with." She looked at me for a long moment. "You were very prepared." "Yes. Has anything like this happened before?" "Not like this, but I have spent a long time being told I was imagining things." That is the part I need you to understand. This was not the first time I had been right about something everyone else wanted to ignore. This was just the first time I had evidence they could not dismiss. My family has always been the kind of family that values appearances over honesty. We are not wealthy in the way people think of when they hear that word, but we are comfortable. My parents live in a 4-bedroom house in a neighborhood where the lawns are mowed by services and the mailboxes all match. My sister drives a Mercedes she leased, not bought, but she parks it in front of restaurants where people will see it. My uncle works in commercial real estate and wears suits that cost more than my first car. When we gather for holidays, we do it in rooms with crown molding and we drink wine that comes in bottles people recognize. I was always the one who did not quite fit. I was too direct. I asked uncomfortable questions. I pointed out inconsistencies. When I was 16, my mother told me I would be prettier if I smiled more. When I was 22 and graduated with honors, my father told me not to make a big deal about it because my sister was sensitive about not finishing her degree. When I got engaged, my mother said, "Are you sure? You have always been so independent. Marriage requires compromise." What she meant was, "You are difficult." What she meant was, "Tone it down." I did not tone it down. I got married anyway. I had a career anyway. I bought a house anyway. And every single time I did something they did not expect, they found a way to make it smaller. My promotion was luck. My house was overpriced. My husband was patient, which was code for, he must be a saint to put up with you. The first time my uncle made me uncomfortable, I was 14. It was nothing I could name, just a feeling, the way he stood too close. The way he touched my shoulder when he said goodbye. I told my mother I did not want to be alone with him. She said I was being ridiculous. She said he was family. She said I had an overactive imagination. I was 17 the next time. He came to my high school graduation party and cornered me in the kitchen. He asked about my boyfriend. He asked if we were serious. He asked if I was being careful. The questions had a weight to them I could not explain, but I could feel. I left the room. My mother asked why I was being rude. I was 25 when he offered to help me network for jobs. He said he knew people. He said he could make introductions. He said we should meet for lunch to discuss it. I said no thank you. My father asked why I was not taking advantage of family connections. I said I would rather do it myself. He said that was prideful. I learned to avoid my uncle without making it obvious. I learned to be busy when he visited. I learned to position myself near other people when we were in the same room. I learned that if I said anything direct about why I was doing this, I would be the problem. Then I had my daughter, and the calculus changed. My uncle was careful around her at first, always appropriate, always in public view. He brought her gifts, he asked about school. He played games with her that were innocent and grandfatherly. My mother said, "See, you were worried for nothing. He is wonderful with her." I was not worried for nothing. I was watching. I watched the way he volunteered to babysit and I always said no. I watched the way he suggested activities alone with her and I always had a reason we could not. I watched the way he bought her presents that were slightly too personal, art supplies and journals and things meant for private time. I watched my family think I was paranoid. "You do not trust anyone," my sister said once. We were at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. My uncle had just offered to take my daughter to the park while the adults talked. I said we could all go together. My sister rolled her eyes. "You cannot protect her from everything." I was not trying to protect her from everything. I was trying to protect her from one specific thing I could see and no one else would acknowledge. If you have ever been counted out by someone who should have known better, you already know what that silence feels like. The pattern was always the same. My uncle would offer something kind. I would deflect. My family would criticize me for being difficult. I would hold my ground without explaining why. They thought I was controlling. They thought I was anxious. They thought I was the one who needed to relax. What they did not know was that I had been building something the entire time they thought I was failing to keep up. I started my career in marketing for a mid-sized firm that paid $38,000 a year. It was fine. I was good at it. I learned how to read people, how to position products, how to find the story that made someone want to buy. My father said it was a nice starter job. My mother asked when I was going to think about something more stable. I switched to consulting after 3 years. Freelance. My family thought I had made a terrible mistake. My mother said, "You had benefits. You had stability. Why would you give that up?" My sister said, "Freelancing is what people do when they cannot get a real job." I did not tell them I had already signed 4 clients. I did not tell them my rate was $85 an hour, which was more than I had been making salary. I did not tell them I had a plan. The first year I made $63,000. The second year I made $92,000. The third year I made $147,000. I did not announce these numbers. I did not correct anyone when they assumed I was struggling. I let them think I was scraping by while I built client relationships and reputation and a portfolio that spoke for itself. My mother still introduced me as trying the consulting thing. My sister still asked if I had thought about going back to a real job. My uncle still offered to help me network as if I needed rescue. I signed my largest contract 3 days after my sister told me I should try something more sustainable. It was worth $218,000 over 18 months. I took the call in my car in the parking lot of my parents' neighborhood grocery store. I had stopped to pick up wine for Sunday dinner. When I walked into their house 20 minutes later, my mother patted my hand and said, "Do not worry, honey, things will pick up." I smiled. I poured the wine. I did not correct her. By the time my daughter was born, I had enough saved that I took 8 months off without financial stress. My family thought my husband was supporting us. They did not ask. I did not tell them that I had planned this, that I had built a business that could pause and resume, that I had clients who waited for me because my work was worth waiting for. My mother said, "It must be nice that he makes enough for you to stay home." I said, "Yes, we are very fortunate." I did not say that I had made more than my husband the previous year. I did not say that the pause was strategic, that I was using the time to plan an expansion, that I had already identified the next phase. When my daughter was 18 months old, I went back to work. Part-time at first, then full-time, then more than full-time because the demand was there. I hired a nanny. I restructured my client load. I doubled my rates because I could. My family thought I was barely keeping my head above water. My mother asked if I was sure I should be working so much. My sister said, "You are going to miss everything." I was missing nothing. I was at every school event. I was at every doctor's appointment. I was present in ways that mattered. And I was also building something they could not see because they had already decided what my life looked like. 3 years ago, I started turning down family gatherings. Not all of them, just enough that people noticed. My mother asked if something was wrong. I said no, we were just busy. My sister said I was being distant. I said we had a lot going on. My uncle said, "You are always welcome, you know that." I knew exactly what I was doing. I was creating space. I was reducing contact. I was protecting my daughter without having to explain why, because explanation required them to believe me, and they had proven over and over that they would not. Last Thanksgiving, my uncle asked if he could visit in the spring. He said he had business in our area. He said it would be nice to spend a few days. My mother said, "Of course he can stay with you. You have that lovely guest room." I said we would love to have him. I said we would make it work. I said we were looking forward to it. I was not looking forward to it. I was preparing for it. I told my husband I wanted cameras in the house. He asked why. I said I wanted to see what our daughter did during the day when we were working. He said that made sense. We installed cameras in the main living areas, not the bedrooms, not the bathrooms, just the kitchen, the living room, the playroom. I told my daughter that if anyone ever made her uncomfortable, she could tell me. I told her that secrets that made her feel bad were not secrets she had to keep. I told her that her body was hers and no one got to touch her in ways that felt wrong. She was 5. She nodded. She did not understand yet, but I was planting seeds. I told my attorney I might need her for something I could not yet name. Patricia Reyes. I had worked with her on contract negotiations. She was sharp and she did not ask questions that were not necessary. I said, "If I call you and say I need documentation help, I need you to be available immediately." She said, "Understood." My uncle arrived on a Thursday in late February. He brought my daughter a set of professional-grade colored pencils. He brought my husband a bottle of scotch. He brought me flowers. He was charming. He was helpful. He offered to watch my daughter Friday morning while we worked. I said that would be wonderful. I set up my laptop in my office. I had a clear view of the nanny cam in the living room. I watched. Nothing happened. He played board games with her. He helped her with a puzzle. He made her lunch. He was appropriate. Saturday we went to the Science Museum, all 4 of us. Sunday morning he left. He hugged my daughter goodbye. He said, "Remember, this is our special time, just us." He said it in front of me. He said it like it was sweet. My daughter nodded. She went upstairs. She did not wave from the window like she usually did when people left. Monday she drew the picture. The picture showed things she should not have known, specific details, specific positions, things that happened in private, things he told her were secrets. When she whispered, "Uncle said do not tell Mommy," she was not protecting him. She was testing whether I would believe her. I believed her. I photographed the drawing. I sent it to Patricia. I called the police. And then I did something my family would say was unforgivable. I invited them all to dinner. That same night. Monday evening. I said it was last minute, but I wanted to see everyone. My mother said that was unusual for me. I said I had been thinking about family lately. She said she was glad I was finally coming around. They arrived at 6, my parents, my sister and her husband. My uncle was already on a plane back home, but he was on speakerphone when I needed him to be. Everyone gathered in the dining room. I served wine. I put out cheese and crackers. I made small talk. At 7, I stood up. I said I had something to show them. I held up the drawing. My mother asked what it was. I told her. I told her exactly what it was. I told her what every detail meant. I told her where my daughter learned those details. I told her what my uncle had said to keep her quiet. The room went silent in a way I had never heard silence before. My sister said, "That is not possible. You are misunderstanding." I said, "I am not." My father said, "We should not jump to conclusions." I said, "I am not jumping. I have already called the police. They are handling it." My mother started to cry, not because she believed me, because I had said it out loud in front of everyone. My uncle on speakerphone said, "This is insane. She is 6. She has an imagination. You are putting ideas in her head." I said, "She drew this before I saw it. She told me you said not to tell. Those are her words, not mine." My brother-in-law, who had been silent until then, said quietly, "We should let the police investigate." My sister turned on him. "You believe this," he said. "I believe we should find out." That was the first crack. Everything I had built in silence for 36 years, everything I had prepared without anyone knowing, everything I had documented and structured and held close was about to be tested in front of the people who had spent my entire life telling me I was wrong. The detective left at 9:15 that night. My family left at 8:47. They did not all leave at once. My sister was the first to go. She stood up, grabbed her purse, and walked out without looking at me. Her husband hesitated at the door. "I am sorry," he said. I did not know what he was apologizing for. He left. My father sat in his chair for another 11 minutes without speaking. My mother cried quietly into a napkin. My uncle had disconnected from the call the moment I said the police were involved. No one said goodbye. After they left, my husband asked me what happened next. I told him the truth. I had been preparing for this for 6 years. I had documentation. I had witnesses. I had financial independence they knew nothing about. I had built a life that did not require their approval or their money or their protection, and now I was going to use it. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since before she was born." "Why did you not tell me?" "Because I needed to be sure first. And because if I was wrong, I did not want it to be something we carried." He nodded slowly. "You were not wrong." "No, I was not." The preparation had started small. When I was pregnant, I opened a separate bank account. Not hidden, just separate. I told my husband it was for baby expenses and later for our daughter's future. He thought I meant a college fund. I did mean that. I also meant something else. I put 10% of every payment I received into that account. In the beginning, it was small amounts. $200 here, $400 there. By the time my daughter was born, there was $18,000 in it. By the time she turned 3, there was $67,000. By the time she turned 5, there was $132,000. I did not tell my family any of this. When they asked how we were doing financially, I said we were managing. When my mother offered to help with childcare costs, I said that was kind, but we had it covered. When my sister made comments about how expensive children were, I agreed and changed the subject. The money was not the point. The point was autonomy. The point was having options. The point was making sure that if I ever needed to protect my daughter from someone, I would not have to ask permission or justify myself to people who had never believed me before. I also documented everything. Every uncomfortable comment my uncle made. Every time he offered to babysit and I declined. Every gift that felt slightly too personal. I kept a log. Dates, times, what was said, who was present. I did not know if I would ever need it. I kept it anyway. Patricia told me once, "You are the most thorough client I have ever had for someone who is not currently in a lawsuit." I might be eventually. She did not ask what I meant. She just said, "When you are, call me first." The cameras were installed 4 months before my uncle's visit. I told my husband I wanted them for security. He thought I meant burglars. I did mean that. I also meant something else. The week before my uncle arrived, I called Patricia. "I need you to be on standby. I cannot explain yet, but if I call you this weekend, I need you to answer." "What kind of standby?" "The kind where you document everything I send you and prepare to file a police report on my behalf if necessary." There was a pause. "Are you safe?" "Yes, my daughter might not be." Send me everything, I will be ready. I sent her my logs. I sent her the timeline of my uncle's visits over the past 6 years. I sent her screenshots of text messages where he had offered to take my daughter places alone. I sent her a summary of every time I had expressed discomfort and been dismissed. She called me back 3 hours later. If anything happens, we will bury him. I know. What my family did not understand was that I had been building this case in my mind for decades. Every time they told me I was overreacting, I made a note. Every time they dismissed my instincts, I filed it away. Every time they chose his comfort over my clarity, I remembered. By the time my daughter drew that picture, I had everything I needed except proof. The drawing was proof. 2 weeks after my uncle left and 3 days after I showed my family the drawing my mother called, I did not answer. She called again. I let it go to voicemail. She called a third time. I answered. "We need to talk," she said. "About what?" "About what you did. About what you accused him of. About the way you humiliated this family." I let the silence sit for a moment. "Is that what you think happened? I humiliated the family? You made a scene. You involved the police without even talking to us first. You showed that drawing to everyone like it was evidence when it could be anything. Children have imaginations, you know that." She drew things she should not know. She used words she should not have. She told me he said to keep it secret. She is 6. 6-year-olds do not understand what they are saying half the time. She understood perfectly. My mother's voice shifted, less angry, more pleading. "Can we just talk about this? In person, without lawyers and police and all of this drama?" "No, why not?" "Because the last time I tried to talk to you about him, I was 14. You told me I was being ridiculous. I am not interested in being told that again." She inhaled sharply. "That was different." "How? You were a teenager." "We're dramatic, this is serious." "It was serious then too, you just did not want to see it." There was a long pause, then, "What do you want from us?" "Nothing, I do not need anything from you. I have not needed anything from you for a long time." "That is not fair." "Fair would have been believing me the first time." She hung up. My sister called 4 days later. Her approach was different. She started with small talk, asked about my daughter, asked how we were doing. I answered briefly. I waited. Finally, Mom is really upset. I imagine she is. She thinks you are being vindictive. She thinks you have always had it out for him. "What do you think?" My sister hesitated. "I think you believe what you are saying. I just do not know if it is as clear-cut as you are making it sound." "It is very clear-cut. The police think so too." "Have they arrested him?" "Not yet. They are building the case. It takes time." "So nothing has actually been proven." I could have argued with her. I could have explained the process. I could have listed the evidence. Instead, I asked, "Do you have children?" "You know I do not." "Then you do not understand what it feels like to know someone hurt your child and have your own family defend him." "No one is defending him. We just think you should wait for facts before you destroy someone's life." I have facts. I have her drawing. I have her words. I have years of documentation. What I do not have is your support. And I have learned to live without that. She was quiet for a moment. Then, "You have always been so cold." "No, I have always been careful. There is a difference." She hung up too. My father did not call. He sent an email. It was formal. It said the family had discussed the situation and they thought it would be best if we took some space from each other while things were being sorted out. He said they loved me. He said they hoped I would reconsider my approach. He said they were praying for clarity. I did not respond. What none of them knew was that while they were calling me and emailing me and trying to manage the situation, I was 3 steps ahead. I had already met with a family law attorney to discuss protective orders. I had already contacted my daughter's school to put my uncle's name on a do not contact list. I had already scheduled a session with Dr. Cartwright, the child psychologist the police recommended. I had also done something else. Something I had been building toward for 3 years without fully admitting it to myself. I had filed paperwork to formalize my business as an LLC. I had transferred my client contracts into the business name. I had restructured my finances so that my consulting income was separate from our household accounts in ways that protected it. I had set up a trust for my daughter that no one could touch except the trustee I had appointed, who was Patricia. My husband knew about some of this. He knew about the LLC. He knew I was organizing things. He did not know the extent of it. He did not know that I had built a financial fortress that would hold even if everything else collapsed. 3 weeks after the dinner, my mother called again. This time she sounded different. Tired. "The police talked to him," she said. "I know. He says it is all a misunderstanding. He says he never touched her. He says she must have seen something on TV. He is lying." "How do you know?" "Because I have been watching him lie for 20 years. I know what it looks like." My mother was quiet. Then, "What if you are wrong?" I am not wrong, but if I were, I would rather be wrong and safe than right and sorry. This is tearing the family apart. The family was already broken, you just did not want to see it. Another long silence. Then, your father wants to pay for his legal defense. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Of course he does. He thinks it is the right thing to do. Innocent until proven guilty. He can do what he wants with his money. It does not change anything. It changes everything. If you keep pushing this and it turns out to be nothing, you will have destroyed relationships that cannot be repaired. If I do not push this and he hurts another child, I will have to live with that. I know which risk I am willing to take. My mother's voice cracked. Why are you doing this to us? I am not doing this to you. I am doing this for my daughter. If you cannot see the difference, that is not my problem. She hung up without saying goodbye. That night I sat in my office and looked at the files I had built. 6 years of documentation, 3 years of financial restructuring, 22 years of being told I was wrong, 1 drawing that proved I was right. Patricia called the next morning. The prosecutor's office is moving forward. They have enough for charges. It is going to take time, but it is happening. How much time? Months, maybe longer. These cases are complicated. I know. How are you holding up? I am fine. No, really, how are you? I looked out the window. My daughter was in the backyard with my husband. They were planting flowers. She was laughing. I am exactly where I need to be. Good, because this is going to get worse before it gets better. Your family is going to push back. His attorney is going to push back. You need to be ready. I have been ready for 6 years. I believe you. I hung up and opened my laptop. I had work to do, a client presentation, a contract renewal, a proposal for a new project worth $73,000. My family thought I was falling apart. I was closing deals. The following Sunday, my sister showed up at my house unannounced. I saw her car pull into the driveway. I did not open the door immediately. I waited. She knocked. I counted to 10, then I opened it. We need to talk, she said. About what? Can I come in? No, she looked surprised. You are not going to let me in? I do not think that is a good idea right now. I am your sister. You are also someone who thinks I am lying about what happened to my daughter, so no, you cannot come in. She stood on the porch uncertain. I did not say you were lying. I said we should wait for facts. The facts are there, you just do not like them. Mom is falling apart. Dad is not sleeping. This whole thing is destroying them. That is not my responsibility. It is if you caused it. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger, clarity. I did not cause this. He did. The moment he touched my daughter, he caused this. The moment you all chose to defend him instead of believe her, you caused this. I am just the one who refused to be quiet about it. My sister's face changed. Something harder moved into it. You have always thought you were better than us. No. I have always known I was different. You all decided that meant worse. I decided it meant free. Free from what? From needing you to approve of me? She stared at me for a long moment. Then she turned and walked back to her car. She did not look back. I closed the door. My hands were steady. My breathing was even. I had just lost my family of origin, and I felt nothing but relief. That evening, Patricia sent me an email. The preliminary hearing is scheduled for May 9th. You will need to be there, so will your daughter. Are you ready? I looked at the date. May 9th. 6 weeks away. 6 weeks to prepare my daughter. 6 weeks to hold steady while my family tried to break me. 6 weeks to make sure everything I had built could withstand what was coming. I wrote back, I am ready. But I was not just ready, I was armed. I had financial independence they did not know about. I had documentation they had not seen. I had professional support they could not undermine. I had spent 6 years building a life that did not require their belief or their blessing or their presence. And I had one more thing, something I had not told anyone yet, not even my husband. I had been contacted by 2 other mothers, women whose daughters had been around my uncle at family gatherings, women who had noticed things, women who had been told they were overreacting. Women who saw the news about the charges and recognized something familiar. They wanted to know if their daughters could talk to the detective too. I gave them Detective Brennan's number. The case was not just about my daughter anymore. It was bigger than that. And my family had no idea what was coming. Everything I had built in silence, everything I had prepared without announcement, everything I had protected while being called paranoid was about to prove itself in a courtroom in front of people who had spent decades telling me I was wrong. I want to know if you would have said what I said next, because I still think about it. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for May 9th. On April 27th, my mother sent an email to the entire extended family. She did not send it to me. My cousin forwarded it. The subject line read, "Family meeting, important." The body said that due to recent events and serious accusations that had caused pain and division, the family needed to come together to discuss how to move forward in a way that honored everyone involved. She proposed a gathering at her house on May 2nd. She said it was important that everyone attend, including me. She said she hoped we could find a path toward healing and reconciliation. I read the email 3 times, then I forwarded it to Patricia. She called me 6 minutes later. Do not go. I am going. Why? Because I am tired of them controlling the narrative, because they think if they get me in a room, they can manage me. Because I want them to understand that I am not manageable anymore. Patricia was quiet for a moment. If you go, take me with you. You cannot come to a family meeting. Then record it, every word. And if anyone says anything that sounds like witness intimidation or coercion, you leave immediately. I am not recording my family. Then at least tell your husband you are going and make sure he knows to call me if you are not back by a certain time. You think they would hurt me? No. I think they might say things that hurt your case. And I think you might say things in the heat of the moment that you regret. People do stupid things when they feel cornered. Do not let them corner you. I told her I would be careful. I did not tell her I had already made a decision about what I was going to say. I had been rehearsing it in my head for 3 days. May 2nd arrived. I told my husband I was going alone. He did not like it. I told him it was necessary. He asked what I was planning to do. I told him I was planning to tell the truth. He looked at me the way you look at someone about to walk into fire. You do not have to do this, he reminded me. Yes, I do. I arrived at my parents' house at 2 in the afternoon. There were 7 cars in the driveway and on the street. My sister's Mercedes, my uncle's Lexus, my aunt and her husband, 2 cousins I barely knew, my parents, and now mine. I walked in without knocking. Everyone was already in the living room. They had arranged the furniture in a circle. It looked like an intervention. My mother stood when she saw me. I am so glad you came. I did not sit down. I stood near the doorway. Let's get this over with. My father gestured to an empty chair. Please, sit. We want to talk. You want to talk or you want me to listen? My sister, from the couch. See, this is what we are dealing with. She is combative about everything. I looked at her directly. You invited me here to tell me I am the problem. Go ahead, say it. My mother stepped forward, hands up like she was calming a wild animal. No one thinks you are the problem. We just think there has been a misunderstanding. A serious one. And we think if we can all sit down and talk about it like adults, we can find a way through this that does not involve courts and lawyers and permanent damage to this family. There is no misunderstanding. My daughter drew a picture of what he did to her. The police believe her. A prosecutor believes her. 2 other mothers have come forward with similar concerns. Those are facts. My uncle, sitting in the corner, spoke for the first time. His voice was calm, too calm. Those other mothers are looking for attention. Their daughters never said anything until they heard about your accusations. That is how these things work. One person makes a claim and suddenly everyone wants to be part of it. I turned to face him. You know their names. Your mother told me. I looked at my mother. She looked away. My uncle continued. I have known those families for years. Those girls were never around me unsupervised. Whatever they think happened, they are misremembering, or they are being coached. By who? By you. The room got very quiet. My aunt shifted in her seat. One of my cousins looked at the floor. I took a breath. I have never spoken to those mothers before they contacted the police. I have never met their daughters. The only thing I did was give them Detective Brennan's number when they asked for it. My father leaned forward. That is the problem right there. You are encouraging this. You are giving people a platform to make accusations that ruin lives. Do you understand what you have done to him? He has lost clients. He has had to hire an attorney. People in his neighborhood are talking. His reputation is destroyed. And for what? A drawing? A 6-year-old's imagination? It was not imagination. My sister stood up. Her voice was sharper now. How do you know? Were you there? Did you see anything happen? Or are you just so convinced that you are right about everything that you are willing to destroy a man's life based on a picture? I looked at her for a long moment. I was not there, but she was, and I believe her. My mother's voice broke. She is 6. She does not understand what she is saying. Children that age cannot distinguish between reality and fantasy. You know that. You have read the parenting books. You have talked about this. She understands perfectly. She told me he said to keep it secret. She told me specific details. She drew things she should not know. My uncle stood up. I never told her to keep anything secret. I never did anything that required secrecy. What I said was that our time together was special. That is what grandparents say. That is normal. You are not her grandparent. I am family. Not anymore. My father's voice rose. That is enough. You do not get to decide who is family and who is not. This is not your family to control. I turned to him. You are right. It is not my family anymore, but my daughter is my responsibility, and I will do whatever it takes to protect her, including cutting off every single person in this room if that is what it takes. My aunt, who had been silent until now, spoke quietly. Do you really think we would let something happen to her? Do you think we do not care about her safety? I think you care more about protecting him than protecting her. I think you have made that very clear. My mother stepped closer. We are trying to protect everyone, including you. If this goes to trial, it will be public. Everyone will know. Your daughter will have to testify. She will have to relive whatever she thinks happened. Is that really what you want for her? What I want is for him to be held accountable. My uncle's voice was ice. Accountable for what? Playing with my niece? Bringing her gifts? Spending time with her? Those are not crimes. What you did was a crime. Prove it. The words hung in the air. Everyone was looking at me now, waiting. I reached into my bag, I pulled out a folder, I set it on the coffee table. My mother looked at it. What is that? Documentation. Every time he offered to be alone with her. Every time I said no. Every time one of you told me I was being paranoid. Every gift he brought that was inappropriate for a 6-year-old. Every comment that made me uncomfortable. 6 years of records, dates, times, witnesses. My sister laughed. It sounded nervous. You kept records of what? Family visits? That is insane. No, that is preparation. My father reached for the folder. I pulled it back. You do not get to see this yet. The prosecutor will see it. The judge will see it. You will see it when it is entered as evidence. My mother's face changed. Something crumbled in it. You are really going to do this. You are going to testify against him. You are going to put your own daughter on a stand and make her talk about this in front of strangers. Yes, even if it destroys this family. The family was already destroyed. I am just the one who stopped pretending it was not. My uncle moved toward me, not threatening, just closer. You do not know what you are doing. You think you are protecting her. You are traumatizing her. You are putting ideas in her head that will follow her for the rest of her life. You are making her believe something happened that did not happen. That is abuse. What you are doing to her is worse than anything you are accusing me of. If you are still here, hit like. I need to know you saw that. I looked at him, really looked at him. He believed what he was saying. He had convinced himself that he was the victim, that I was the problem, that my daughter was confused. He had done this so many times, been believed so many times, that he genuinely thought he would be believed again. I opened the folder. I pulled out a single piece of paper. I handed it to my mother. What is this? She asked. A statement from Dr. Amanda Cartwright. She is a forensic child psychologist. She interviewed my daughter for 3 hours over 2 sessions. That is her professional assessment. Read it. My mother read it. Her hands started to shake. She handed it to my father without speaking. He read it. His face did not change, but his breathing did. My sister grabbed it from him. She scanned it quickly. This does not prove anything. It is just one person's opinion. It is an expert opinion, from someone who interviews children about abuse for a living, someone who knows the difference between imagination and memory, someone who has no reason to lie. My uncle's voice was tight now. Experts can be wrong. They can be influenced. You probably told her what to look for. I was not in the room during the interviews. Neither was anyone else. It was just Dr. Cartwright and my daughter told her the same things she told me, in more detail. My aunt stood up. I think we should stop this. This is getting out of hand. We are family. We should not be attacking each other like this. I looked at her. You are right. We should not. But you are. You have been attacking me since the moment I said something was wrong. You have been protecting him. You have been telling me to be quiet. You have been prioritizing his reputation over my daughter's safety. So yes, this is out of hand, but I did not start it. My father set the paper down. What do you want from us? Nothing. There has to be something. You came here, you brought documents, you clearly have a point to make, so make it. I pulled out another paper. This one I handed directly to my uncle. What is this? He asked. A cease and desist letter. You are not to contact me, my husband, or my daughter in any way. No calls, no texts, no emails, no gifts. No showing up at places you know we will be. No contact through third parties. If you violate this, I will file for a restraining order, and that will be public record. He stared at the letter. You cannot do this. I already did. That was sent to your attorney 4 days ago. This is your copy. My mother made a sound, not quite a sob, not quite a gasp. You are cutting him off from the entire family. No, I am cutting him off from my daughter. The rest of you can do whatever you want. My sister stood up fast enough that her chair scraped against the floor. So that is it? You are just going to tear this family apart and walk away? I am going to protect my child. If that tears the family apart, the family was not worth keeping together. My uncle crumpled the letter. I will fight this. I will fight all of it. I have an attorney too, a good one. And when this goes to court and your daughter has to testify and the jury sees that she is a confused little girl who has been manipulated by her mother, you are going to regret this. I stepped closer to him, not close enough to touch, close enough that he had to look directly at me. I have been preparing for this conversation for 6 years. I have been preparing for the trial for 6 years. I have been preparing to lose all of you for 6 years. I am not scared. I am not uncertain. I am not going to back down, so if you want to fight this, fight it. But understand that every single thing you do from this point forward is going to be documented and used against you. Every call you make to try to intimidate me, every family member you recruit to pressure me, every time you try to control the narrative, I am watching, and I am recording, and I am ready. The room was absolutely still. No one moved. No one spoke. Then my father stood up. I think you should leave. I am not finished. Yes, you are. You have made your point. You have hurt everyone in this room. You have made it very clear that you do not care about this family, so leave. I looked at my mother. She was crying silently. I looked at my sister. She was staring at me like I was a stranger. I looked at my uncle. He was looking at the floor. I reached into my bag one more time. I pulled out a third document. This one I set on the coffee table where everyone could see it. What is that? My father demanded. A financial statement from my business for the last 3 years. My mother looked up. Why are we looking at your finances? Because you have spent my entire adult life telling me I was struggling, telling me I needed help, telling me I should be more realistic, offering me money, offering me advice, treating me like I was barely keeping my head above water. And I let you because it was easier than explaining. But I want you to see this now. I want you to understand who you have been underestimating. My sister picked up the paper. She read the first line. Her expression changed. She read the second line. She handed it to my father without speaking. He read it. He looked up at me. This cannot be right. It is exact, verified by my accountant. That is my annual revenue for the last 3 years. That is what I have built while you all assumed I was failing. The numbers were there in black and white. Year 1, $273,000. Year 2, $412,000. Year 3, $638,000. My mother stared at the paper. You made this much, how? By being good at what I do, by working hard, by building relationships with clients who value my expertise, by not waiting for anyone's permission. My father's voice was faint. Why did you not tell us? Because you never asked. You assumed. And I let you assume because it kept you from asking questions I did not want to answer. My sister's voice was hollow. You have been sitting at family dinners listening to us give you career advice while you made more than all of us combined. Yes. Why? Because I was protecting something. I was building something you could not touch. I was making sure that if I ever needed to stand alone, I could. And now I am. My uncle finally looked up. This is what this is really about. You think you are better than us now. You made some money and suddenly you are too good for your family. No, I made choices that gave me options. And one of those options is walking away from people who hurt my child and then ask me to forgive them for the sake of keeping the peace. I do not need your money. I do not need your approval. I do not need you to believe me. I just need you to stay away from my daughter. My mother's voice broke completely. Please, please do not do this. We can work this out. We can get counseling. We can bring in a mediator. We can find a way to fix this. There is nothing to fix. He did what he did. I am responding to it, that is all. My father stood very still. If you go through with this trial, you are out. Do you understand that? You will not be welcome here. You will not be part of this family. We will not support you. I understand. And you are choosing this anyway. Yes, he nodded slowly. Then you are not my daughter anymore. The words should have hurt. They did not. They felt like permission. I picked up my folder. I picked up the financial statement. I left the cease and desist letter on the table. One more thing, I said. Everyone looked at me. My daughter's trust fund, the one I have been contributing to since she was born, the one that currently has $147,000 in it, that is not accessible to any of you. Not now, not ever. The trustee is my attorney. The only person who can access that money is my daughter when she turns 25, and if anything happens to me, it is still protected. I made sure of it. My mother's voice was barely a whisper. You thought we would try to take it? I thought I should make sure you could not. Turns out I was right to prepare for everything. I walked to the door. I stopped with my hand on the handle. The preliminary hearing is May 9th. You are all welcome to attend. It is public, but understand that if you show up to support him, you are choosing a side. And that side is not my daughter's, so choose carefully. I opened the door, I walked out. I heard my mother call my name. I did not turn around, I got in my car, I drove 3 blocks, then I pulled over and called Patricia. "How did it go?" she asked. "Exactly how I expected." "Are you okay?" I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. My hands were steady, my breathing was even, I felt lighter than I had in years. "Yes, I am better than okay, I am free." I had one more thing to say. The preliminary hearing happened on May 9th as scheduled. My daughter did not have to testify. Dr. Cartwright's report was enough. The prosecutor presented evidence. My uncle's attorney tried to argue that it was all circumstantial. The judge disagreed. Probable cause was found. The case was moving to trial. My family did not attend the hearing. I did not expect them to. What I did not expect was the email that arrived that evening from my father's attorney. The subject line read, "Ray, estate planning update." The body explained that due to recent family circumstances and irreconcilable differences in values and priorities, my parents had updated their will. I was no longer listed as a beneficiary. My sister would inherit everything. The decision was final and not open to discussion. I read it once. Then I deleted it. Patricia called an hour later. "Did you see the email from your father's attorney?" "Yes. How do you feel about it?" "Relieved." "Relieved? I do not want their money." I never did. This just makes it official that I am not part of that family anymore. "It is cleaner this way." She was quiet for a moment. "You are handling this better than most people would." Most people did not spend 6 years preparing to lose everything. The trial was scheduled for September 14th. Between May and September, my life looked remarkably normal from the outside. I worked. I took my daughter to school. I went to her soccer games. I had dinner with my husband. I met with Patricia twice a week to prepare. What was not normal was the silence. My phone did not ring with family calls anymore. My email did not fill with messages from my mother asking when we could talk. My sister did not text me pictures of her life. The group chat that had included all of us went quiet and then disappeared entirely. I was not invited to my cousin's wedding in July. I was not told about my grandmother's birthday party in August. When my aunt had surgery, I found out from a Facebook post 3 days after it happened. I was erased. And I did not care. What I cared about was my daughter. She was seeing a therapist twice a week, a good one who specialized in trauma recovery for children. She was drawing again, but different pictures now. Bright ones, happy ones. She laughed more. She played more. She stopped asking why we did not see Uncle anymore. One night in late June, she asked me if people who hurt kids went to jail. I told her yes when there was enough proof. She nodded. Good. That was the only time she mentioned it. The other 2 mothers who had contacted Detective Brennan both decided to pursue charges as well. Their cases were separate from ours, but the pattern was noted. 3 families, 3 daughters, similar details, similar timeline. My uncle's attorney tried to get all 3 cases dismissed. The motion was denied. In August, something unexpected happened. My brother-in-law called me, my sister's husband, the one who had been silent during most of the family meetings. "I need to tell you something," he opened with. "Okay, I believe you, I have always believed you, I just could not say it in front of everyone else." I sat down. "Why are you telling me now?" "Because I am leaving her. I filed for divorce yesterday, and I wanted you to know that it is partly because of how she handled this, how she treated you, how she treated your daughter. I could not stay married to someone who would choose protecting an abuser over protecting a child." I did not know what to say. He continued, "I am not asking for anything. I am not asking to be friends. I just wanted you to know that you were right, and I am sorry I did not say it sooner." "Thank you. Your daughter is lucky to have you." He hung up. I told my husband about the call that night. He asked how I felt about it. Vindicated, I admitted, and sad, because it should not have taken this long for someone to say it. September 14th arrived. The trial lasted 4 days. I sat in the courtroom every single day. My husband sat next to me. Patricia sat behind me. My daughter did not attend. She was with her therapist in a separate room where she could draw and play and not think about any of this. The prosecution presented Dr. Cartwright's evaluation. They presented my documentation. They presented testimony from the other 2 mothers. They presented forensic evidence from my daughter's drawing that corroborated details she could not have known otherwise. My uncle's attorney argued that children are suggestible, that the drawings were interpretations, not facts, that the other mothers were influenced by media coverage, that there was no physical evidence. The defense called character witnesses, people who had known my uncle for decades, people who said he was kind and generous and would never hurt anyone. My mother testified for the defense. She cried on the stand. She said her brother was a good man who loved children and had dedicated his life to family. She said I had always been difficult and prone to exaggeration. She said she believed this was a tragic misunderstanding fueled by my need for attention. I watched her say these things. I felt nothing. On day 3, the prosecutor called me to the stand. I was sworn in. I answered every question clearly and directly. I did not cry. I did not waver. The defense attorney cross-examined me. He asked if I had a grudge against my uncle. I said no. He asked if I had financial problems that might motivate me to seek a settlement. I said no. He asked if I had put ideas in my daughter's head. I said absolutely not. He asked if I loved my family. I looked at him. I love my daughter, that is my family. On day 4, the jury deliberated for 6 hours and 32 minutes. They came back with a verdict: guilty on 3 counts of child sexual abuse. The courtroom was completely silent. Then my uncle's attorney asked for bail pending sentencing. The prosecutor objected. The judge denied bail. My uncle was taken into custody immediately. My mother stood up and screamed. Security had to escort her out. I sat very still. My hands were in my lap. I had been holding my breath without realizing it. I let it out slowly. Patricia leaned forward and whispered, "It is over." Yes. Sentencing happened 6 weeks later. October 29th. The judge gave him 12 years. No parole eligibility for 8. The other 2 cases went to trial in November and January. Both resulted in convictions, additional sentences. He would serve them consecutively. He would be in prison for at least 26 years. My daughter turned 7 in January. We had a birthday party at a trampoline park. She invited 12 kids from school. She laughed so hard she got the hiccups. When I tucked her in that night, she told me it was the best birthday she ever had. I believed her. My business continued to grow. Last year, I made $894,000. This year, I am on track to break 1 million. I hired 2 junior consultants. I turned down clients I did not want to work with. I built something that was entirely mine. My mother tried to contact me once after the sentencing. She sent a letter. It said she was sorry for testifying against me. She said she had been confused and scared. She said she hoped someday I could forgive her. I did not respond. My sister sent a card last Christmas. It had a generic message about family and forgiveness. I threw it away. My father never reached out at all. I have not spoken to any of them in 2 years and 4 months. I do not miss them. My daughter does not ask about them. We have built a life that does not include people who chose wrong when it mattered most. Last month, my daughter asked me why we do not see grandma and grandpa anymore. I told her the truth in terms she could understand. I said that sometimes people make choices that hurt us, and when that happens, we get to decide if we want them in our lives. I said we chose to spend our time with people who keep us safe. She thought about it for a moment. Then she shrugged and went back to her homework. That was enough. I do not regret what I did. I do not regret the family I lost. I do not regret standing up in that dining room and showing them exactly who I was and what I had built while they were not paying attention. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that my daughter had to go through any of this. I regret that there are other children out there whose families did not believe them, but I do not regret protecting her. Some people still think I went too far, that I could have handled it privately, that I did not need to involve the police or the courts or make it public, that I should have given my family a chance to make it right before I burned everything down. Those people did not see the drawing. They did not hear my daughter whisper that she was told to keep secrets. They did not spend 22 years being dismissed and ignored and told they were overreacting. I did what I had to do, and I would do it again. So tell me, did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments.